You went back to Kansas City after a few years in the oil business, and is that when Daddy went to work for the insurance company?
Yes, Papa wanted us to come. He was in business then.
I see. Okay.
So, now wait. First, we had this little house on Charlotte, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
And that's where Ed and you and Marian were born
Mm-hmm.
there. Bob was born in
Detroit.
Detroit, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about what it was like when we were kids. What are some especially happy memories for you?
Oh, just so many, many happy memories. We lived close to a good school.
Border Star?
No, first we lived to the Rock Hill Nelson School.
Oh, yes.
And
I went to
that's
kindergarten.
That's where Bob graduated from there.
Mm-hmm.
And Ed got to go to kindergarten there.
I did too, I think.
Did you?
I think so.
I know.
I'm not sure.
Then we moved over on 240 West 62nd Street.
Mm-hmm.
And then you and Ed and Marian went to Border Star.
Right.
Marian was a real small baby then.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, we lived there long enough so she got to go to kindergarten there.
You liked Kansas City very much.
Yes, indeed.
It was a pretty big city, though, even then, wasn't it?
Yes, indeed it was.
We lived in the Country Club District, and
the William Rockhill Nelson District.
used to go shopping down in the Plaza Shopping Center, which I can remember at Christmas time was all lit up. The rooftops were lit with light bulbs, and there was a
Beautiful.
a laughing Santa Claus up on top of one of them that would rock back and forth and go ho, ho, ho. Isn't that right?
Yes, right. It must have cost them quite a lot of money to, but it was such a flourishing area then that I guess it paid off.
How did we get places? Did you have a car? Did we have a car? I don't recall.
Well, the first car we had was when Charlie, Mama's brother, lived with us. And it seems to me we always had a car.
But Dad took it to work, didn't he, most of the time?
In Detroit he did.
He would take us on rides on Sunday. I can remember Sunday rides in the country.
Yeah. But
But during the week, it seems to me we went most places on the trolley.
right, streetcar, huh?
Yeah. I remember one time when I was supposed to be in a play. I was playing the part of an Egyptian princess, and it was on a Saturday. And Dad had some kind of a golf date that he had to keep, and seems to me you called a taxi, put me in a taxi cab.
All
to
by
get
your
to
little
that,
self?
all by myself. Do you remember that? You don't remember? That was very exciting. And it was, play was being performed at the Nelson Rockhill Gallery.
I guess I didn't get to go to that, did I?
No, I don't know why it was being held there, but anyway. Was it difficult as far as illnesses when we were growing up?
Illnesses?
Mm-hmm.
Well, you children were always very healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I never had to call the doctor very much. In fact, Dr. Harrington was an osteopath doctor, And he was about the only doctor I can remember.
I recall having measles though, and having to stay in bed and be in a very dark room for several days. No
For your
lights.
eyes.
Yeah. Why was that?
Well, that's the way they believed, and I guess they do yet.
Mm-hmm.
That
You might
it
lose your
protects
vision.
your eyes.
Oh, I see.
Light and
Of course, today
sun.
they have vaccines against
Yeah.
measles and mumps and all those other things.
Isn't it a
We all
blessing?
had the mumps and chicken pox too, didn't we? When
Yes.
we were little. Let's talk a little bit about vacation times. Kansas City in the summertime could be very hot. And I remember one summer we went to Colorado, Estes Park. And another summer we went to Green Lakes, Minnesota, that
Right.
area.
Yes.
Dad liked to go there, didn't he?
To fish.
Oh.
Yeah.
Was he a good fisherman?
Fine. He'd bring home fish nearly every night for us to have for dinner. And he always cleaned them.
I can remember the wool bathing suits that we had to wear and how they would smell when you would hang them out over the back porch in the cabins up in Minnesota.
Well, aren't you? Have a good memory.
Tell me about the move to Houston. What prompted that?
Let's see. Well, he was fed up with his job with the company that he was with. He felt that he wasn't getting ahead there. So he came down one morning.
Didn't he also think they were being dishonest with the stockholders?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't approve of things that were going on. I could mention the president's name, I remember that, but I won't.
Okay. Anyway, he came down one morning
And said to Bob, who was eating his breakfast, Bob at that time was going to the University of Kansas City. He said, Bob, get on your traveling clothes. You and I are going to drive to Houston. I couldn't believe my ears.
just like that.
Just like that. He hadn't mentioned a thing to me about it before. So Bob got ready and they left that very morning, driving to Houston from Kansas City.
You have no idea why he picked Houston.
Well, he had been reading, I guess, a lot about
Boomtown.
oil and about what?
About a boomtown
Yeah.
in Texas.
And so he thought, he always, he had worked for Devonian Oil Company before
Oh, I see.
before we'd been married too.
And then once he and Bob got to Houston, what happened?
Well, they just fell in love with Houston, and while the heat there hadn't got to them yet, I guess they got to they must have gone at a time when it was
In the spring.
beautiful time. So Daddy stayed on and sent Bob back home with the car to, I was supposed to shut the house up because we had tried to sell it and couldn't. Things were very bad then.
It was still a depression, wasn't it?
Yes. And I left the key to my next door neighbor, and the bank was going to take it over.
Were things really as hard in those days as you read about the depression? people
Yes.
being on the dole and
Well, I
out of
guess
work.
so.
And
Well, we were never on the dole because I always had my father to fall back on. Daddy worked with my father in the office for a while, and business wasn't good enough to support Uncle Dave and Papa and Terry. So Terry decided that he wanted to find something else, to do something else. So that's what happened. He came down one morning and said, "Bob, get dressed, we're going to Houston."
And what did he do down in Houston? Did he start to work at a gas station right away? Was that?
Yes, with the funds that he took with him, he made a down payment on a station there. It was a very small station, and he rented a little house that was right close to the station, with a field across the street. And do you remember all the bunnies that we'd see go hopping through the grass? And it was sort of out in the country.
I remember a raccoon wandering through the house once when we lived in Houston, and you were chasing it with a broom.
Yeah.
You thought it was a skunk.
Yeah, but it was a raccoon. Well, anyhow, you children had to go under a barbed wire fence to get on this pathway, a shortcut to your little country school. Do you remember the school?
No, I don't.
Well, maybe you didn't get to go. Maybe it was just Ed. But I thought you did.
Ed and I went to the same school. We both went to James S. Hogg Junior High School, and before, let's see,
Then
we went to Marshall High School, I think, and then Reagan High School. Reagan, not named for the current president.
That's right.
Somewhere else.
There's always been kind of a lapse of memory in there for me somewhere.
Was there anything about Houston that you liked?
Well, I didn't get to see much of it. I was tied down at home with no transportation, and way off out in the sticks in this house.
And no friends. And